Chapter 362 gave us the biggest shock of the entire series. No, I'm not talking about Damnatio being revealed to be a paladin. We all saw that coming from Lucius's throne in space. No, what I'm talking about is the fact that Marx isn't one. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I never personally believed in the theories that Marx had been secretly working for Lucius this entire time, but the fact that the last time we saw him was the very same chapter that Lucius was revealed in, and then he proceeded to go MIA for the next 30 plus chapters, was rather concerning. Just like Damnatio did, I had assumed that at some point during the time skip, Marx had actually caught on to Lucius, most likely cluing in on the fact that just before Damnatio went missing, he had went to see Joyous, and that Joyce's own memories of the meeting were most likely spotty at best, and then digging as deep as he could into the darkest corners of Joyce's mind, he most likely discovered all the memories Lucius had hidden from Julius. And then, immediately after finding this out, Lucius poked him in the forehead, turning him into one of his loyal paladins. You know, exactly what he did to Damnatio. In fact, when you really sit down and think about it, Lucius could have ended this war way before it even began, because if he had simply gone to all the Magic Knights and the captains prior to making his big reveal in chapter 331 and converted them into paladins, there would be basically no one besides Asta that could stop him. And it's not like having a strong will or a large amount of mana will stop Lucius from being able to convert them, because we know that Damnatio has both of those things, and Lucius still turned him pretty quickly. And even if we were to say that maybe some of the more powerful characters like Yuno, Yami, and Miro Yona were strong-willed enough to resist being poked in the forehead, even the three of them together would not have been able to stand up against the combined might of the entire Magic Knight army. And then throwing in all the paladins we've seen so far and the clones that Lucius can make, it'd pretty much be game over for those three characters. Although, admittedly, it would have been entertaining to see a handful of our characters struggle to defend themselves against the people they considered friends and family who had been turned into pawns without trying to kill them. Except Mario Leona, I would imagine that she would most likely still try to kill them anyway. But now that Marx is beating the Paladin allegations, it's going to be extremely interesting to see exactly how he reacts to meeting Lucius face to face. Because next to Yami and William, Marx was the character most connected to Julius, and while he knows that Lucius and Julius are technically different people, it's probably still going to be hard for Marx to see his face and not hesitate. Oh, and speaking of the whole different people thing, based on the leaks for this chapter, when Marx sends out his message to everyone, he tells them that Lucius stole Julius's body. And Lucius tells Yuno that it's a useless lie that won't help out their situation, but it's not really a lie. For all intents and purposes, Lucius did steal Joyce's body. I mean, yes, the two were born at the same time in the same body, and they shared it for a good while, but for the last at least 18 years, Joyce has been the one controlling it. Possibly even longer, since we don't know exactly when he came to the Clover Kingdom. So I'd argue, at this point, yes, Joyce is in fact the current owner of the body, and Lucius is the hijacker. And them running with this narrative actually would help out a lot, because if the general public believes that the hero of their country who has the most powerful magic betrayed them, then they're going to spiral into despair, believing that there's no chance of survival. But if they believe that this is someone who's controlling their hero's body, it gives them hope that he can be saved, and then in return, he can save them. And even if he can't, Marx and Mimosa made sure to highlight to everyone that there's someone else that can and will stop Lucius, though the two of them were talking about completely different people. Marx was talking about Yuno, who he showed the populace that he had already defeated Lucius once, and if he could do it once, then he can do it again. Now, that being said, I haven't seen the leaked pages as of the recording of this video, so I don't know exactly how Marx showcased Yuno in this chapter, but if he showed off a heavily injured Yuno facing off against 12 clones of Lucius, I personally wouldn't be too optimistic about his chances of winning. And Mimosa was talking about Asta, who, like Noel, she knows is still alive, or at the very least she believes he is, and that time and time again, whenever he was pushed against a corner and people were in danger, he always found a way to come out on top and save the day. Funny thing is, I actually think that both characters are actually right in this situation, because personally, I believe that in order to take down the real Lucius, it's going to take the combined efforts of Yuno, Noel, and Asta, or as the fandom has deemed them, the Light Triad. And with 2 out of the 3 already present and ready to take on the big bad, we just need Asta to arrive and lead them to victory. And going off the last chapter, it seems like his big return was pretty much right around the corner. But swinging all the way back to the beginning of this video and the first person I mentioned in it, here enters Damnatio at the end of the chapter to put a stop to the witch's spell. And there's not many amongst the current cast in the Witch's Force that realistically stand a chance against them. Which means in the next chapter, we could possibly see the three most powerful witches in the world, Vanessa, Dorothy, and the Witch Queen, team up to stop this Paladin. And that has me on the very edge of my seat.